Hey everyone, welcome back to Upside Down Data. Today I want to talk about whether or not we should expect an alt season after Bitcoin puts in the majority of its move. So Bitcoin has been rallying like crazy the last week or so, going all the way from about 19.5K all the way up to, as I record this, 28.2K. A very impressive move. If we measure it, that is a 44-ish, 43, 44% move to the upside in a very short amount of time, which is quite impressive. And what this has led a lot of people to think is that after Bitcoin is done putting in this big move, whenever that comes, that then altcoins are going to go absolutely crazy. Oftentimes what happens in crypto is that Bitcoin is the first mover. A good example of this was in the summer of 2021, that Bitcoin was one of the first movers in this run. And then a bunch of altcoins followed along and went absolutely crazy. And so what a lot of people think is going to happen here is the exact same thing. Bitcoin is going to put in a big move, and then profits from Bitcoin are going to flow into altcoins and then send them parabolic as well. Now, if we switch over to our website, polaritydigital.io, which we've launched in collaboration with Jay over at Daily Crypto Analysis, link in the description to the site if you want to look at it for yourself. The dynamic that we can see is that idea of Bitcoin leading the market is very much playing out. If we look at our trend confidence indicator, this is an indicator that tells us how confident should we be in a given trend. If you're in an uptrend and it's green, that's bullish. If you're in a downtrend and it's red, that says that's bearish. That means that downtrend's likely to continue. And then divergences are important. If you're in an uptrend but it's red, that's a sign for warning. If you're in a downtrend and it's green, that's a sign for optimism. What's interesting is we just look at the way the TCI is right now. We can see that Bitcoin is in a confirmed uptrend. It's rallying to the upside and the TCI is green. That's a confirmed uptrend, means that we should be confident in that move up. But really, other than BNB and to a small degree XRP, no other assets are really positive. Even Ethereum is still in the negative. And really, this shouldn't be that surprising. Bitcoin has been leading the way, and a lot of these other assets have been lagging. And so the model is not ready to get confident on these assets yet, to think that they're going to move to the upside anytime soon. But it is pretty confident in this trend that it's seeing from Bitcoin right now. Now that can change, but currently it's kind of confirming that Bitcoin is in an uptrend. And really what that means is that, Bitcoin is kind of running the show here. Altcoins have not been following along. And so in some ways, people might look at that and say, well, of course, that's the way it should play out. Bitcoin should kind of suck all the air out of the market first, and all those profits will redistribute back down into altcoins. And a lot of people have been looking at Bitcoin dominance, which I'm showing you here. And this is the proportion of the total crypto market cap that's accounted for by Bitcoin, currently up about 47, started all the way down at 43 at the beginning of this big rally. And so what people are saying is that Bitcoin dominance, ever since early 2021, has largely kind of stopped out at these high levels before moving back down. So what a lot of people are expecting is that now that Bitcoin dominance is up here, we're going to see Bitcoin start to slow down in this rally, and those profits then move into altcoins, which would then drop this Bitcoin dominance as altcoins gain larger market caps. So that's possible. That's a reasonable prediction, and it's certainly played out a number of times in the past. But there's some caveats that we need to think about here. And the one that's been put out a lot as kind of the counterexample is what happened back in 2019. So people have been comparing this current move by Bitcoin to 2019 a lot. It's kind of the analogy a lot of people have been using. And if we just look at what Bitcoin did from the bottom of the bear market here to the top, it went up about 340% more or less. So a pretty impressive move. But notably what happened with altcoins is that they didn't tend to rally either as much or just as much. They didn't outperform Bitcoin. So let's go ahead and look over at ADA, Cardano, which was one of the kind of big winners during this big bull run through here. Let's look at how it behaved, in that time going from December of 18 into early 2019. So if we just do a measurement of how ADA performed in that time, what we're going to see is that ADA went up about 340%. It basically just matched Bitcoin. It didn't do anything especially more impressive than that. We can also go look at Chainlink, another asset that did very well over that cycle. Take a look at from December here in 2018 through kind of into the mid of that point, and it only went up 240%. And so basically what people are arguing is that the same thing might happen here, where Bitcoin might actually be the biggest performer. Altcoins might not be able to match Bitcoin, one for one, or might actually underperform it. But then more importantly, what happened with a lot of altcoins is after that run, they went and corrected way more deeply than Bitcoin did. So, from the top here, going all the way back down to this wick, ADA was down 85% during that time. Bitcoin, if we go and we look at the top here, going down, still fell down a lot, but it was only down 71% to the absolute bottom of the March 2020 crash. So it didn't correct as far. It didn't get wrecked quite as far. And so really, getting into an altcoin here was kind of early. Really, this was the ideal entry point. Now, hindsight makes that easy to see, but it's the same kind of idea that if this is the same thing that we're seeing from 2019, you might expect some altcoins to actually go in and put new lows from here, whereas Bitcoin, might not do so. So I think this is going to be something that's important to keep in mind, because I think there's a lot of consensus out there in the market right now, or on crypto Twitter, etc., that this is going to play out the exact same way that we've seen it play out in recent history. So, for example, the summer of 21, where Bitcoin's going to lead the way, then alts are going to explode afterwards. But I do think it's important for us to have this alternative possibility in mind, like what we saw play out here in 2019. Or maybe this rally is a little bit different. Instead of this just being a full-on risk-on move in the market where people are just looking for any kind of risk asset going as far out in the risk curve as they can, and just kind of cycling profits continually into lower and lower market cap assets. Instead, maybe this is something that's a little bit more to do with the narratives, with the bank failures and things like that, where Bitcoin and the larger players might benefit more, and it might not necessarily trickle down to the altcoins as much as we could think. Now, if you're just going to ask me what's my base case here, what I think is most likely, I think either of these are plausible. The fact, though, that it tends to play out more in this direction, where there's many more examples where Bitcoin leading then leads to profits moving into alts, etc., makes me think that, if I had to place a probability on it, I would expect things to maybe play out more like that than like this alternative I'm talking about with 2019. But I think that 2019 counterfactual is so salient and so possible that it's something we can't ignore. So really, for me, until proven otherwise, I think it's reasonable to expect at least some of the profits from Bitcoin to flow into alts. But if we start seeing Bitcoin correct heavily, then alts getting absolutely destroyed during that correction, that might be a different story. Because if Bitcoin corrects and you see altcoins rising, what that means is that people are taking profits out of Bitcoin, putting them into altcoins. If you see Bitcoin correct and altcoins getting wrecked even harder, that just kind of suggests a larger risk-off appetite that might be something more in line with what we saw in 2019. So I think this next pullback we see from Bitcoin is going to be very diagnostic in terms of which way we think things are going to go. And I think a pullback from Bitcoin is plausible from here, right? If we just put up the 200-week moving average, I actually think it's quite reasonable to expect that Bitcoin, after this incredible explosive move, at some point in the not-too-distant future, could go ahead and have to come back and try to hold this level as support. And it could be, if that move plays out, that could really tell us about what altcoins might do next. Altcoins that get absolutely destroyed during that pullback, I think we need to be a little bit cautious. But if they don't, if they start rallying, that might suggest that alt season's here. So none of this is financial advice. You should make your own opinion of where you think some of this is going. But that's just kind of some of the things that I'm looking for. And so the other thing you can just look for is on our website, for example, keep an eye on things like the trend confidence indicator. If you see these start to get bullish on a bunch of altcoins, that might suggest that alt season is indeed here. Same thing with momentum bias indicator. If you see this start flipping bullish, that means that positive momentum is kind of retaking over for a lot of altcoins. We haven't seen that yet. And so I think it's going to be really interesting to watch the market in the coming weeks and see what happens. We have the FOMC meeting where they're going to be announcing the potential rate hikes or pause. That'll be tomorrow. I think that's where the market's going to pick a direction, and then we can watch and see how altcoins react to whatever Bitcoin does. So again, not financial advice. Look at the data for yourself, make your own opinion. That's just what I'm thinking about right now. So if you like the content, remember to subscribe to the channel, give the video a like, and follow us on Twitter. But a lot of updates about our indicators and more over there. And also check out our website, polaritydigital.io, to see the data for yourself.